Hello everyone, Jane here. Thank you so much for watching my video today. If you are new, then welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Today I thought I would do a bit of sort of intuitive abstract play, so to speak. Sometimes you just don't feel like you know what you want to do. You just want to have a play around with your mediums, and that's what I was going to do today. And sometimes I think it is a good plan to just let your brain go, let your creativity flow, just try to not think too much, and that's what I wanted to do with this project today. So I am starting off in the mixed media pad by Winsor and Newton. So it's not a specifically like a watercolor paper. It is one that is made for lots of different mediums. But you know, it's not a very expensive pad, so it's a good one for when I just want to play around. I wanted to divide the page up because this is another thing. If you're doing something really abstract, sometimes it can feel like it is a bit of a mess, and this will go through that stage. So if you divide a page up, when you remove that tape, it immediately gives your project some structure and a frame to each little bit, and it divides it up into smaller pieces, and it makes it seem more arty, for want of a better word. So I am starting off with just scribbling, basically, going back to when we were children and you just get the crayons out and you would just scribble and colour, and you'd have fun just putting that colour down, and that's what this was. So I'm using the Tempera paint sticks. They are not an artist grade supply. They are meant for children, so they are fabulous. I love playing with them, but they are not necessarily light fast or something that you would want to put on something you're going to sell, but they are fine for something like this. Then I wanted to add some other colour over the top, so I just went in, I just grabbed the first watercolour tin that I came to, and I just looked at the colours and I thought, I like that colour, I'm going to use that. And it was the Rose of Ultramarine by Daniel Smith. So a real contrast between children's supplies and artist supplies here. And then I just saw my Neocolors and my scribble sticks sat up on the top, Neocolor 2s I should say, and I just grabbed the first colour I came to, which was a purple, and again just scribbled, and then I knew because it was water reactive I would be able to blend some of that colour out into the background. Now I was scrubbing it a little bit with my brush, and I think some of the Tempera paint, which although it sort of is, it dries, but it can be reconstituted a little bit, so it did make a little bit of a more muddier colour, but I was quite happy with that. And then I decided to get out some of my paint markers, so these acrylic markers I should say. So the first three are from Arrtx, and they are brush paint pens, as in you do not need to pump them or prime them, they are just ready to go. They're quite nice. I don't use them probably as much as maybe some people. I use them more as a abstract sort of finishing touch, or when I just want to add a little bit of colour in here and there. I don't ever use them as a something to do a fully coloured image with. I don't sort of use them in that way, but they are quite good fun. And I got out the three really sort of primary type colours. Now these pens do not have names as in colour names, but they do have numbers, and as always I will list what I've used in the description box below. Some things like the Tempera sticks I won't be able to tell you what the colours are because they don't say what they are on them. You know, you can get a vague idea by looking at them, but they don't give specific colour names. Same as these, they don't give names, they just have numbers, so I will list them in the description box below. So I was just doing what I used to do as a child, so I was finding little bits in like the scribble to colour in. So I did that with the first colour, which was the yellow. Then with the blue I just sort of added some, it was going to be dots, but I was sort of just putting it at an angle, so there was more like little lines. And then finally I went in with the pink to add some spots in. I was just going with whatever I felt like. And then I grabbed these two big Posca pens. Now these ones you do have to shake up and prime. These I bought recently whilst on holiday. I showed them in a haul, which I'll link at the end. And they are really nice and chunky, and I just wanted to really just have a little play with them really. And as you can see there, the white did actually go through the black, which was still wet, but that was fine. It would easily wipe off. At this point, I wanted to see what would be happening once I removed that tape. Now, the most of this tape came off fine. Now, I wasn't too worried in this book because it is in my sort of spiral bound mixed media play around book, and it's that right hand side there where it did actually tear. I think that may have been because I had a clip on there, and when I was drying in between, like the sections, the heat tool was going over the rest of the tape and was loosening the gum, but I don't think it could get to that because obviously the metal clip was in the way, and I think that's probably why it stuck more, and maybe the clip was also pushing it into the fibres of the paper. So something to be aware of. If you're doing something that you don't want to be ripped, then just think about the sorts of tapes and papers that you're using, because different papers do react in different ways. Now, I have lots of bits and bobs around my craft space, lots of like different bits of ephemera, different bits of things I've stamped out and maybe not used, and I certainly have a lot of things I've die cut. So I went in a box because I knew I wanted something that would contrast really boldly against that background, because the background is very, very busy. So I went for some black die cuts. Now these were all just bits that were already in a box that had been previously die cut for other projects that maybe, where I've die cut loads and loads and loads and loads of things and then not used them all. And so I just got out some of these bits that I thought might be quite fun, and I was just arranging them, having a nice time deciding what would go where and which boxes they would go in, because I didn't want like leaves next to leaves and things like that. So I was just having a little audition of my pieces until I was happy. And once I knew that that was fine where they were, then I'm using this Cosmic Shimmer Dries Clear Glue. So it's like a PVA glue. It dries matte and clear, and it's got quite a nice quick grab, but not too quick. So if you did sort of put it down and go, oops, I just need to move that a little bit, you would still have time to be able to do that. So I'm just dotting the glue sort of onto the bigger areas of the die cuts and then just pressing them down. I was trying not to put too much glue on because I didn't want a lot of squidge coming out of the sides. Once I'd stuck the die cuts down, I felt that they could do with a little bit of white pen for highlighting them to help lift them up against the rest of the page. And I went in with the white Copic Acrea pen to do that. And that was then the more or less the end of my project. So thank you ever so much for watching today. If you have enjoyed this video, do please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button as well. At the end of the video, you'll see a list of my lovely super supporters who are my members, and I will put information in the description box if that's something you would be interested in finding out more about. And so until the next time, bye bye.